Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about life-changing journal prompts that have completely changed the game for me in my inner work journey. And I think it's really important to share because there's a lot of talk around, journal, and people sometimes can get a little lost in the process and feel that it's not as effective as it actually is. So the first thing to consider here is you have to get clarity on exactly what it is that is bothering you, what the problem is, if it's kind of like an overarching problem in your life, whatever it may be. You need to get very specific in what it is. So for example, if it's a trigger, if it's that you were in a social setting and someone said something to you that caused you to feel really frustrated, and afterwards you were really ruminating on it and you couldn't let it go and it was really difficult for you to move past it, you want to get clarification on what it was that bothered you by getting a pen, getting your journal, and writing down answers to these journal prompts. If somebody else had said the same thing that this person said, what emotion would that evoke in me? Would it be the same or would it be different? If it would be different, what is it about this person that is bothering me? If it would be the same, what is it about the words that were spoken that were a problem? If those words spoken were said in a different tone of voice, would it have bothered me? If not, what is it about that tone of voice that bothers me? And what is this reminding me of? So this is just sifting out the complications, the confusions, and just getting very clear on what it specifically is that's bothered you. And if it's more of an overarching problem in your life, the same thing can apply. Like, what is it about this overarching problem that is bothering me? Like, what is it preventing me from doing? What is it making me do that I don't want to do, etc. Get very clear on the problem that you're dealing with. Once you are clear on that, a really, really great place to start is asking yourself, what purpose does this problem serve in my life? So for me, I used to suffer immensely with social anxiety, and I asked myself this question: what purpose does this problem serve in my life? And initially I was thinking, well, it's not really serving any problem. This is a disaster. It's horrible, right? But not really. When I looked deeper, what I found was, if I was not socially anxious, if this wasn't an issue in my life in any way, I would show up more confidently. What does that mean? Well, if I was more confident, I'd get more opportunities, people would have higher expectations of me, and if I then was to fail or humiliate myself or be rejected, well, I'd have absolutely no excuse. It would just be because I wasn't good enough. Whereas if I'm socially anxious, I can hide behind that. Oh, well, it's because I was socially anxious why they didn't give me the chance. It was because I was socially anxious, which is why nothing was working for me. It's an excuse. And this is not about victim blaming, right? This is the only way to actually empower people to make moves forward. Because social anxiety, I literally had it textbook. And the only thing that really worked for me was realizing what purpose it was serving and then finding other ways to serve that same purpose in healthier ways. So for example, to protect myself from being exposed as being inadequate fundamentally at the core, it's like rewiring my beliefs on that. Like, I am not inadequate at the core. It's impossible for any human to be inadequate at the core. And really focusing on healing that part of me that felt that way, as opposed to going to medication, doing CBT. Now, don't get me wrong, CBT and sometimes medication work for some people. I'm not a fan. I never did medication. But no amount of practicing or kind of putting myself out there was fixing the issue. The only thing that could fix it was understanding the real reason why it's there. And I think that's something that CBT doesn't really address. Like, if we are obsessing or ruminating over something and we cannot shake it even though we want to, it is because it is serving a purpose in your life. It is meeting some sort of need. And the only way to shake it is to get that need met in a healthy, direct fashion. Which leads nicely onto the second prompt, which is, if it wasn't for this problem, what would I be doing or thinking about right now? So if it's like you're literally up at night and you're just obsessed over this thing, it's like, well, I'd literally be asleep. Okay, if I would be asleep, what would be bad about that? Well, what would it mean? What would it mean if I was asleep? It would mean I'd wake up fresher in the morning. If I was fresher in the morning, what bad things could happen? And again, it kind of leads you down a path of, okay, I'd be more empowered. I'd be more courageous because I'd have more energy. I'd have no excuse not to do the things that I know I should be doing, right? That can literally be what it is. If it's something like, oh, well, right now I'd be having a coffee with a friend, it's like, what would be bad about that? And just constantly asking yourself, like, what would be bad about doing or thinking those things? Which goes straight into point number 4, journal prompt number 4, which is, what is bad about doing/thinking those things? And journal on this like non-stop, pen to paper for 15 minutes on each of these prompts, and you'll gain so much clarity and insight in terms of what is underlying here, because it's never ever just as it seems. There's always a bigger picture at play, and that fact alone can be very helpful because it kind of helps you zoom out of the problem and realize it's not as bad as it sometimes feels when we're triggered in that moment. And then the final journal prompt is more of a shadow work journal prompt, which is so powerful. It's like the next level. It is, how am I like this? So this one is amazing if you're afraid of something happening. I used to be really preoccupied with the worry that, oh my gosh, like if I'm a success, people are going to hate me, people are going to want to try and tear me down. And the question is, how do I try and tear people down? How do I hate people? How am I not happy for people's success? In what ways in my life is this happening, right? It is always the case. And the reason I know this so much is because, as you know, if you've watched some of my other videos, I did a lot of therapy, a lot of coaching. I was so immersed in this world for so long. And I remember saying to a coach, like, I don't believe in shadow work because I made a list of the things I hate in people and they're just not in me at all. Like, they're not there. And the more adamant you are that it's not there, the more it is. The more you are hiding it is probably a better way to put it. It's like the more that you cannot see it in yourself is to the extent that it's in your shadow. So obviously I didn't like to think of myself as someone that wanted to tear others down. But unfortunately, there were elements of that going on. Like if I would see someone doing really, really well, I would feel envious and think I would prefer it if they weren't as successful because it would make me feel better. And I never, ever realized I was doing it until I became aware that, okay, I must be doing it. It's a fact that I must be doing it. So now I just need to look for it. And it took me about 6 months to fully see this in action. Like I was actually doing it. And then I just started journaling around people that I'm subconsciously wanting to sort of fail in some way. And something to note here is that there is no shame in shadow work. And I really want you to know that there's literally nothing that you could find that would mean that you're a bad person. Yeah, all it is that you're repressing elements of your psyche and they are causing you to be afraid of seeing it externally. Don't repress. Once you realize this, like for example, when I saw that unconsciously, actually, I am hoping that certain people fail because it would make me feel better, I started practicing doing the complete opposite. Every time I saw someone that I wanted to be or have something that they had, I would sit there and I would take a moment of silence with my hand on my heart and say, God, I pray that this person has even more abundance in their life, in whatever thing it is that I'm envying. I pray that they literally have the most amazing life and reach the highest highs that are humanly possible. I'm sending them all the love in the world. And then I would say, I get to have that too. I get to have that too. I get to have that too. I like to repeat things 3 times because it really resonates in your mind if you say things over and over again. So that is how I counteracted it. And I also showed myself compassion by saying to myself, like, it's okay. Like, their success does not take from mine. The more success we see, the more that is available to us. And that's how you don't repress things. You actually acknowledge it and say, yeah, I know you're here. I know you're here. I feel you. And you put your hand on your heart Like, yep, I know that there's a bit of wounding left there. Like, you feel there's a bit of that lack mindset going on, and that's okay. That person over there is an innocent person. They deserve to be successful just like I do. And there's more than enough success to go around for everyone. So that's how you do it. You start to embrace that part of you and take care of it properly, which is what it needs. And then you'll stop also fearing people hating you and trying to tear you down, because you won't have that anymore. It won't be a problem for you. So guys, that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have some powerful shifts and discoveries in your journaling work. I've also linked in the description below an exhaustive list, pretty much like a step-by-step guide to decoding your triggers, powerful journal prompts that I use myself all the time to decode triggers and get back on track. Download that below and let me know how you get on in the comment sections below. Thank you. Bye.